Hi everyone! It has been over 2 months since I did my last video, and I know it's not June anymore, but I still want to carry on the theme of my last video. The last one was about how I met my husband, and this one is going to be about dating and some of the struggles that I faced with that. So we had gotten to know each other about 2 months when I started realizing, I think I really might like this guy. But because I had never dated before, and also if you have seen the video of my testimony, you would understand. But going through what I went through in my past, just having a little bit of trauma surrounding thinking about a guy coming into my life, I was really scared. And honestly, I just want to share this for, anyone who is maybe wants to be in a relationship and this is their first time and it's a little bit scary. Or if you've ever gone through something like I did and trying to put that aside in order to be in a truly healthy relationship, it can be difficult. And after Ben and I started getting to know each other, we would text occasionally, and a few weeks, maybe a month, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I was talking to Ben, I was, messaging him, and I think we had gone on 2 dates. I wouldn't call them dates, we were just meeting for coffee. But I started getting so scared, and I remember there was a week that was awful. I was under such spiritual oppression and all these lies bombarding me constantly for almost a week. And it was awful. And it was just like, you should never be in a relationship. You're going to mess everything up. This guy, if he knows you, if he really gets to know you, he is not going to like you. What are you thinking? And it was just all these lies. And honestly, I don't know how many times I almost picked up the phone to message him, hey, you're really nice, but I don't think I can do this. And I just remember through that, every time I would go to do it, I remember just thinking, don't do anything that you might regret later. Just wait until this is over. Wait until all these lies stop, and then think it over and then decide. And I'm so glad that I did wait. But one thing that got me through that was just thanking God for his goodness, praising him for what he had done in my life and how far he had brought me, and just continually praising the Lord, which is really hard when you feel like you're surrounded by a black cloud and you're never going to get out. But that was one thing that really helped me to get past that. And then after I did, I was still just scared. And I had told Ben, once I realized, I really like this guy, I think I could be in a relationship with him. I told him it had to be a really long time. We had to get to know each other for maybe a year before I would consider it, which I changed my mind. We only knew each other for maybe 3 months before we started dating, but it seriously caused me a lot of anxiety. And I thought so many times, he's nice and he thinks I'm nice, but if he gets to know me, he will not like me. And that was just such a fear. And I was just afraid of getting hurt. I was afraid to truly open up and be my true self, not just the happy side of me, but everything. I was so scared for him to see me. And I think that is a really common fear. So if you're thinking that, I wouldn't stress too much about it. And also in my relationship, actually before we started dating, I know this may sound crazy and it does not work for everyone. I would not say the way my relationship went is 100%. If you follow this, you'll have a perfect relationship. No. It will not work this way for everyone, but I know for myself, I was so scared about getting hurt, and I didn't want to date somebody that, I get to know them and get really close and then get my heart broken. So I asked God, I said, you have got to tell me if I'm going to marry this guy before I start dating him, because I am just too scared. So one night we were having a revival at my church, and I was just praying and asking God, and I said, listen, you have got to tell me if I'm going to marry this guy. I cannot do this. I cannot go through and have a relationship with him unless I know. And I just put it to God, please tell me. And he said, yes, you're going to marry this guy. And I was like, what? I only knew him for maybe a month or, no, a few months. But it was still like, we weren't even dating yet. And so I think I asked a few more times. I was like, God, there's no way I'm actually going to marry this guy. You've got to, are you sure? And it was just a clear, resounding yes. And I was just like, okay. It was really scary for me to realize, like, I'm going to marry this guy. But it's funny because that night that I asked God if I was supposed to marry Ben noticed my necklace, and sadly I'm not wearing it. I think probably in some of my other videos I have it on. I forgot to put it on today, but it's a heart with a cross in it, and my dad gave it to me, and it's just super special. It's a heart and there's a cross, and the cross is it fits a key, and my dad had it specially made, and the key fit perfectly into the heart. And pretty much, just like some people wear purity rings, it was just a symbol of, I'm saving myself for one guy, and I'm letting my dad protect my heart until that guy comes along, and he's got to be awesome, and he has to ask my dad for permission to have my heart, to marry me and all that stuff. So my dad gave me this heart, and it was special. And the cool thing is, I don't know how many years before, Ben was praying for a wife, a godly woman. Ben's 5 years older than me, so he had to wait a little bit longer, for me to be ready. Poor guy. But he had really been praying that God would send along the right woman for him. Not just somebody who made him happy, but he honestly wanted a godly wife, and he prayed for a sign. He prayed that she would have a cross necklace, and then he would really know that she loved God more than anything. And that same night of the revival that I asked God if Ben was the guy for me, Ben noticed my heart, and I always wore it every single day. Every time we ever saw each other, I was wearing that necklace, but he never noticed it until that night. He asked me, he said, what, is that necklace something special? And I explained to him what it meant, and later he told me that story. And I just think that is so cool that God just said, hey, here you go, that sign that you're looking for, there you go. So you know what, if you want to put God to a test, like Gideon putting the fleece out, there is nothing wrong with that. Like I said, not everybody's relationship is going to be like this, and I know it sounds kind of crazy to do that, but I'm crazy, and I needed to know. But it was just awesome to me that God can answer these little prayers that we have to calm our insecurities and our fears. He knows that we need these little things, and He's willing to answer our prayers. So that to me is just so awesome. And as we got to know each other, one thing that I wanted to make important was to love God more than I loved Ben. And I know that sounds crazy, but honestly, really trying to focus more on God than I did on Ben, especially when I started really getting like, oh my word, I like this guy so much. It was just so good, because then God could keep me in check on, whether my attitudes were right, or whether I was pursuing Ben too much and not focusing on God enough. And it was just really awesome that both of us really tried to keep our focus on God more than on each other. And it was great because through our relationship, we got to serve God together. And that's the best thing. When you can serve God with a person you love, it's awesome. So we knew each other for 3 months. We dated for 6 months. We were engaged for 6 months. And then we got married. I know that sounds crazy fast, but it worked. And it was really awesome just throughout our relationship, even though I was scared and I was timid and really committing to being open with Ben. That was one thing that was so freeing. Just being able to, once I got to know him, just being honest with him and saying, I am scared. And I did share with him the things that happened in my past, and he was so compassionate and gentle, and I could feel God's love through him. And that was so sweet. It was such a blessing. And just knowing this is definitely from God. And it was just neat because through my relationship, I was able to work through some of the things in my past and really get through it and have a lot of healing. And it was so sweet just how God worked in our lives. Another thing about being open and honest with each other, just with our relationship, we had like 200 questions that we went through that we asked each other, and they were like everything about religion, what do you think about God? What is your view on church? Honestly, you have to know these things. If you're thinking about getting married to someone, you need to know every single detail, which if you don't know each other super well, it can be awkward to ask each other really deep questions. But do it. It's fun. Well, at least for me, it was fun to ask him those questions, not necessarily to get all of them, asked to me. But ask each other questions, get to know each other in more than just, dating and going out for coffee. Ask each other deep questions. Talk about God. And sometimes your views are different, but it's so awesome to be able to connect in a deeper way on that spiritual level with the person that you're dating and getting to know. And I just love to look back on our relationship and see how God worked in our lives and see how we tried to honor him. And we were not perfect. We're human, but as much as we could, we strove to honor God with our lives and with our relationship. And that carries through to marriage then, because we want to honor God with our lives and to serve him. And I hope that was a blessing or a fun story. If you have any questions about what I just talked about, leave them in the comments down below. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any video suggestions, please leave them in the comments down below. It's been a while since I've done some videos, so I would love your feedback. And I hope you guys have an awesome day. Bye.